West Side Story is a modern retelling of the Shakespeare play Romeo and Juliet. It came out initially in 1964 and in 2019 had a remake done, directed by Steven Spielberg, I believe. I went to go see that one in theaters. I really liked it. I wrote a review on it, and I shall read it here. If you would like to read along, you can find it on my Ko-fi. I will put the link in the description below. This movie was very close to the original 1964 movie. It cast people of the correct backgrounds instead of exaggerating skin colors. I'll go into spoilers now, so please listen and watch at your own risk. The movie started differently to the original, with a view of the city leading us to what I assume is the West Side and a demolition site. Our first group that we see is the Jets, who come out of possibly a tunnel in the ground, maybe the sewers, passing paint cans to each other before they head over to a caravan to call for their leader Riff. Riff in this movie was played by Mike Feist, who you may know from the original Broadway cast of Dear Evan Hansen. At least that's where I know him from. This group of Jets then walks in an intimidating line toward the basketball court, where a Puerto Rican flag is painted on the wall, and they begin to splash paint all over that wall. This introduces us to our second group of the movie, the Sharks, who are a bunch of Latino guys who are quite harsh toward the Jets, but the Jets are equally as harsh. This movie is a modern retelling of Romeo and Juliet, where the Montagues are replaced with the Jets, a full-blooded American group, and the Capulets are replaced with the Sharks, the Latino Americans. Maria is the younger sister of the leader of the Sharks. His name is Bernardo. Maria meets Tony, co-leader of the Jets, who is on parole, at her debut dance, where she dances with him before getting found by Bernardo. Bernardo and Riff then organize a fight for the following night at the salt shed, where they assume the opposite group is going to lose. Meanwhile, Tony and Maria meet at Maria's bedroom window, where they sing their first duet, Tonight. In this song, they describe their newfound love for each other and discuss how the world now seems so much smaller compared to a life with each other. It's very sweet. They discuss backgrounds and things. It's very nice. At the end of the song, they organize to meet during the day on what I assume to be a date. As per Romeo and Juliet, the couple then decide to marry each other, and a line in this song is called "Only Death Can Part Us Now," which is foreshadowing to me if you know the story of Romeo and Juliet, and if you know the story of West Side Story. As per Romeo and Juliet, Bernardo is very strict about keeping Maria away from the Jets. Moving forward, as Tony tries to stop the fight, Riff gets stabbed, and Bernardo gets killed by Tony as a sort of avenging of Riff. But also, Tony picked up the knife. He wasn't planning to kill Bernardo, but kind of accidentally killed him, so not his fault. Maria learns of this murder from Chino, the man Bernardo wanted her to marry, and she becomes furious with Tony, only to end up leaning on him for support because he's all that she has left. The two agree to run away together. Tony leaves to pack his things, telling Maria to meet him at Doc's drugstore later on. Doc's drugstore is where Tony works, and Doc is, in this movie, not there. Doc has died. Doc's wife runs the drugstore instead. When the inspector comes to question Maria and Anita, Bernardo's girlfriend-fiancé, Maria asks Anita in code to tell Tony she'll be there soon. However, when Anita gets to the drugstore, the Jets are waiting for Tony, and they decide to have a bit of fun, I'm saying this as sarcastically as possible, with Anita. Doc's wife, who is also Latino, her name is Valencia. She was played by the original Anita, Rita Moreno. Valencia rescues her, and instead of passing on Maria's message, Anita tells Valencia that Chino found out about the couple and shot Maria. Valencia watches Anita leave, then reprimands the Jets and heads downstairs to deliver the news to Tony. He is devastated, running out into the street, calling for Chino to shoot him too. As he calls out, Maria finds him, and before they can embrace, Chino shoots him 3 times. Maria catches him as he falls, pleading with him to wake up. Prior to this happening, we get Valencia singing Somewhere, which you hear in the original movie. It's originally sung by Maria and Tony, but in this time it is sung by Valencia, which I think is a pretty good piece of detail because it shows that maybe Valencia and Doc's relationship was quite similar to Tony and Maria's, in which they also feel like maybe one day there'll be a place for them to live together, but until then there is nowhere, and history is repeating itself basically. In a rage over Tony not waking up, Maria goes to Chino and asks for the gun, following it up with a question on how to shoot the gun and how many bullets are left to kill. Counting, if there are 3, she can kill the Jets, she can kill Chino, and she can kill herself. She doesn't go through with that. Instead, she drops the gun and goes back to Tony, yelling for the Jets not to touch him. It's a very heartbreaking line. If you haven't heard that line, it's so heartbreaking. It's so full of emotion. It's devastating. And then she allows the Jets to move Tony to the drugstore. Like a funeral procession, she walks behind the group, and Valencia walks with Chino before the police to catch them. Just like in Romeo and Juliet, if Tony hadn't believed Maria was dead, he wouldn't have died. Unlike Romeo and Juliet, Maria did not kill herself when Tony died. Instead, she inspired peace between the two communities. I enjoyed this movie. This is just a very, very short review. Because I've got uni going on, I don't really have a lot of time to go into depth analyses and things, but when I get the time, I'm going to do a full analysis comparing the different songs in the movie and comparing how similar it is to the play Romeo and Juliet that it is inspired by. If you are interested in that, please feel free to subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified as soon as that review or analysis comes up. So that's West Side Story. That's the review. I was going to post this 2 years ago, and then I got my burnout and I could not. So you get it 2 years later. It's okay. At least you got it. But yeah, definitely I will work on making an analysis of it, analyzing the songs, the meaning behind the songs, all that, and analyzing or comparing how close it is to Romeo and Juliet versus its own originality and the first 1964 version. Yeah. In terms of reviews and analyses, next month I think I will do a review on Moulin Rouge, the movie that came out in 2001. I believe next week you'll see me sewing an Agent Carter dress, and the week after that will be a discussion on how I make specific characters in crochet and going into depth on specific elements and how to make those. So yeah, I hope this is a good month for you, and I will see you next week. Bye!